NBA training camp for the 2020-2021 season is set to begin this week, and few teams have more new faces entering the new season than the defending champs Los Angeles Lakers. After landing a blockbuster trade followed by a series of home run signings to start free agency, the roster is now oozing of star talent at every position, but it has to be acknowledged they lost a significant part of their identity on the court along with in the locker room, with the departures of veterans Rajon Rondo, Danny Green, Dwight Howard, and JaVale McGee. McGee and Howard's selflessness and enthusiasm were crucial to this past season's roster becoming a tight-knit team. On the court, the two big men served as a second line of defense behind Anthony Davis to play some suffocating defense in the paint, which led to the team leading the league in blocks. Danny Green, despite how people may feel about him, did what was asked of him of guarding the best way on the opposing team while being a three-point specialist. Rajon Rondo had his ups and downs as well, but in the end, playoff Rondo came through as a crucial leader on and off the court with his vast experience and high IQ. With all that said, the good news is that the Lakers will be moving forward with incoming playoff-tested veterans, along former champions who should make a seamless fit, and position this team to be even better than they were last season as heavy favorites to win a second consecutive title. But given the fact that the Lakers had so many moving pieces during the offseason, and are now stacked from top to bottom with a couple roster moves left to make, there will be a lot of work cut out for the coaching staff and front office when the team eventually returns to practice. So here are 5 battles along with questions that the Los Angeles Lakers will be looking to address heading to training camp with this new look star-studded roster. At number 1, we have what will the starting lineup / rotation be for the Lakers heading to next season. There are probably endless combinations that fans could come up with that would all be worth considering, given the fact that this team is so deep. Training camp battles to keep an eye on would definitely be a starting guard position between newly acquired Dennis Schroeder or Wesley Matthews. A case could be made that Montrezl Harrell could be battling with Marc Gasol for a starting center position, but that's more than likely not the case for the reigning 6th man of the year. The only thing that every proposed starting lineup I've seen have in common is that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope will be inheriting the starting shooting guard position from Danny Green to join LeBron James and Anthony Davis in the starting lineup. I've mentioned this in my last video, but expectations will be raised for KCP after landing a major payday this offseason, and fans shouldn't forget that up until this past season, he was still recognized as an inefficient, high-volume shooter for most of his career. As we saw with Danny Green, fans haven't been shy about letting their highly paid sharpshooters know when they're in a slump, so there's definitely some added pressure for KCP to live up to his contract heading to next season. But as far as how the rest of the rotation fills out, the case could be made that Dennis Schroeder starts in order to diversify the Lakers' offense straight out of the gates with 2 playmakers on the floor as opposed to having LeBron initiate everything like he's done in the past. Schroeder has come a long way in developing his game to the point where he could coexist with LeBron, whether it be with an on-ball or off-ball role as recently a 39% shooter from beyond the arc this past season. But on the other hand, Wesley Matthews pairing with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in the backcourt brings a lot of similarities to the starting lineup Frank Vogel had used last season, with 2 3-and-D specialists to play off LeBron in Avery Bradley and Danny Green, which led to the team becoming the first seed in the Western Conference. From everything that was said by Wesley Matthews in his Laker interview, he definitely seems eager and ready to play a large role in the Lakers' quest to win a second straight title. He's one of the more underrated acquisitions of the offseason, as a two-way pitbull whose skills complement the Lakers superstars perfectly. Ultimately, it could come down to just how aggressively LeBron James wants to transition to playing more of an off-ball role, entering what will be his 17th season as a 36-year-old. There's solid reason to believe he'll be starting out the regular season much more passive, and might just go through the motions in order to conserve his body for the long run, meaning that he'll have to defer to another elite playmaker in the lineup of Dennis Schroeder so that LeBron doesn't have to bring the ball up the court to set up his teammates every time to start the game. At number 2, for the question to be answered as part of the Lakers' upcoming training camp, is whether or not Kyle Kuzma has any type of future with the Los Angeles Lakers, whether that be short-term for the following season or long-term on a multi-year deal. The role for Kyle Kuzma to fill is obviously that lacking 3-and-D wing on this roster, and should Kyle Kuzma prove to be underwhelming in his fit with his new star-studded cast, when he was already struggling enough behind LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and now you add a bunch of high-quality stars in front of him, Kuzma could be dealt in the early part of the season for better complementary pieces to this roster. It has to be acknowledged that just like anybody else, Kuzma could have more selfish interest in trying to land a large contract and will be a contract year and reasonably so. He's got the ring, he's got the clout, but he's yet to earn a big payday like all his other colleagues across the league. Should Kuzma show early signs of struggling to fit in, with the little role that's left for him to be a significant contributor, it could be mutually beneficial for the front office to ship him out to another team for some better assets in return, while giving Kuzma a fresh start to have more freedom with a new team. On the topic of young talent, at number 3 we have Talen Horton-Tucker and his development. He's a name that few have mentioned since Frank Vogel decided to randomly play him in the middle of the Lakers title run, where Tucker would actually play very well considering he's one of the youngest players in the NBA. Right off the bat, the first impression is the fact that he stands at 6'4" and has a 7'1" wingspan. But if Tucker is able to impress in training camp while dominating the summer league, there's a really good chance he can manage to crack the rotation and address the front office's potential need of a third string guard. At his best, where Tucker is able to leverage his length and quickness, he can serve as a poor man's version of Marcus Smart, as a combo guard defensive pest who can handle the ball, aggressively attack the basket, and serve as a respectable off-ball 3-point shooter. At number 4, heading to training camp, it's definitely worth keeping an eye on how all these new faces in the locker room may change this team's identity. Last year, the Lakers were a team that took pride in its suffocating defense, especially within the paint area, and during the offseason, they swapped at 2 highly athletic shot-blocking bodies for a more skilled low-to-the-ground big man along with a dynamic roller to the basket. The Lakers now find themselves with an overwhelming amount of offensive options, along with the opportunity to have multiple playmakers on the floor at all times. So could the Lakers pivot their identity to be more of a San Antonio Spurs brand of basketball, of constantly moving the ball around until a great look is found, while collectively playing a disciplined, savvy veteran brand of defense without their high-flying centers? Finally, at number 5, we have our last question to be answered, of who should the Los Angeles Lakers fill out the remaining roster spots with? As of the making of this video, the fan favorites are Glenn Robinson III and Dwayne Dedmon to round out the roster, with that much needed 3-and-D wing along with an athletic shot blocking center. Training camp is when the coaching staff and front office will finally get a really good look as to what's left to address on this roster before the official start to the regular season. 2 notable voids left to be filled is a sizable 3-and-D wing, capable of serving as another body to throw at someone like Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler, and Kevin Durant. And secondly, a more traditional shot blocking center for when the Lakers eventually come across highly skilled bigs like Joel Embiid, Jusuf Nurkic, and Nikola Jokic. Marc Gasol is currently the man for the job, but he's already 36 years old coming off extended injury with the Raptors, and what is there for the Lakers to lose signing a third string big man as an insurance policy? So let me know down in the comments below, what are your thoughts on these questions heading to training camp? What will the Lakers starting lineup and rotation be heading to next season as the roster currently stands? Does Kyle Kuzma have any type of future with the team? Can Talen Horton-Tucker carve out a meaningful role for the Lakers next season? Will Frank Vogel be pivoting his team's identity given the new talent coming in? And lastly, who should the Los Angeles Lakers sign to fill out their final roster spots? Nicholas Batum, who was arguably one of the best free agents available on the market, was just scooped up by the Los Angeles Clippers, and the longer the Lakers wait, the drier the market gets, so the front office will have to act fast. But that's it for the video, take it easy guys.